Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. This is the big old 500 subscriber celebration video Q&A. I want to thank you guys once again for all the support and the love in the comment section, all the subscribers and whatnot. I do want to apologize for my hair. I get off of work really late, and I also want to apologize because I apparently did not explain myself well enough. I'm very sorry about how late this video is getting posted. For a lot of you guys, apparently my friend Lou put in the comments of the announcement for the Q&A, I just saw that a few moments ago, he was complaining that I hadn't uploaded it today because he had been refreshing the page. I did say in one of my previous videos, especially in that Q&A announcement video, that this would be uploaded on Friday night. I work second shift, I don't get off till midnight, so it's a little hard for me to explain in depth. Sometimes I forget to explain that when I say Friday night for stuff, I usually mean like really Saturday morning for a lot of you guys, so I want to apologize for that. But this is the video I'm really excited for you guys. I'm almost sure this video may either end up being 2 parts or it'll probably be over an hour long, somewhere in that ballpark. I think my camera's good for about an hour and 40 minutes, I think, so hopefully we can cover everything. People probably won't care enough to watch that big old Q&A like that, so I'm going to try to not ramble as much. I'm already doing it right now. So anyway, I have a couple of Deer Park big old bottle of waters here. This one's almost done, but I have these to try to help me get through the Q&A because I get dry mouth very quick. That's why I try to keep my videos spoiler free, so I can keep down to like 15 minutes and sometimes 20 minutes at the very highest, so that I can be over with and done with and I can, you know, get something to drink, because I get dry mouth very quick. I don't know why. It might be because I'm fat. I don't know. But anyway, big old Q&A. We have a ton of questions people asked in the 500 subscribers celebration announcement video thing, the Q&A announcement, and I'm gonna start with the newest comments just because it's easier to organize YouTube comment sections that way. I'm hoping that I get everybody's comment. If I don't, please let me know, or everybody's questions. I mean, there's a lot of people asking multiple questions, which is really exciting to me because I wanted people to ask more than one question. I want as much as we can possibly talk about. I don't know when the next Q&A might be. I don't want to wait till like the 1,000 mark. Maybe it'll be like 75 or 75. Maybe it'll be 750 subscribers that I'll do the next Q&A, or maybe a I don't know. I don't know when I would do the next Q&A. The first one I ever did was for the 1-year anniversary. Maybe I'll just wait till the 2-year anniversary. I don't know, but if the 750 comes before that, then we'll do the 750. If it comes to the 2nd anniversary of the channel, then I'll do it then. So about February of next year. But anyway, let's start with the first couple of questions. Again, my friend Lou commented on this a few times. I felt bad. Lou, I'm sorry again that I told you I'd upload this on Friday night and I did not. So forgive me for that. Lou got in trouble in one of the other comments. I'm gonna look at it later on because he asked a question I told people not to ask in a joking fashion. I can't wait to make fun of him for that. Also, I'm very tired, so if I have to repeat myself, if I do repeat myself, or if I stutter a whole lot, I'm exhausted. Some of the videos I'm currently uploading before I get this video up there are videos I recorded this morning. So you have a little bit of stuff to watch, hopefully, before this is completely up there, ready to go. So I'm hopeful that you guys will enjoy that a little bit, maybe keep you tied over until then. We have a lot of videos coming out this weekend. I want to let you know that immediately. We have a lot of stuff being produced this weekend for you guys. I've watched a lot of stuff, things like Goosebumps videos and all kinds of stuff, a book haul. Well, a haul, I guess just a book haul, but something like that. You know, I have some stuff to show to you before you watch this video. But anyway, there's videos coming after this video. Alright, so let's move along. Samuel Bowers, first question I'm going to ask or answer for him. He said, who is Wally the Dummy? I'm assuming he is just asking me like a trivia thing. Like, I don't know. I've already talked about Wally a couple of times. I'm assuming, who is Wally? I know that there's Mr. Wood. I think he's also called Wally. I think. I know the one from that I Am Slappy's Evil Twin is Snappy, right? I don't remember who Wally is. I'm pretty sure Wally is the original Mr. Wood dummy from the first book. I think that's who it is. I want to move along. Anyway, thank you, Samuel, for your question. He also asked if I posted the Q&A. Well, I'm filming it right now, so you'll see eventually. Goosebumps Boy, he asked, what's your favorite Goosebumps series, like original, Horrorland, etc.? You know, I always get stuck on this question because I enjoy a lot of Goosebumps. I really do. I love, love, love the classic series because I'm a 90s kid. I love the covers. I love Tim Jacobus art covers. But even with the newer covers that are bad most of the time, the stories are still great. The reissues are still good preservations of those old books that I loved so much when I was a kid. If I had to say so, I love Give Yourself Goosebumps as well. I think it's a fantastic kind of choose-your-own-adventure type book. I'm actually reading one right now. I hope to get it done by the weekend. You know how that goes. I did finish the last Lawn Gnome book, Planet of the Lawn Gnomes. I plan on uploading that review for you guys tonight after this video, so, you know, I'm excited for you guys to get that and hear my review on that. I also do the Goosebumps Planet of the Lawn Gnomes, just in general, 4-book ranking series, so that video will be up after the review for the Planet of the Lawn Gnomes book. So just want to give you guys some heads up on that as well. Maybe get you a little excited to have some content to watch. I know everybody's still pretty much in quarantine. Here in Virginia, we're definitely in some quarantine issues still. It's really pissing me off. But anyway, if I had to pick a favorite out of Give Yourself Goosebumps, which I love the Choose Your Own Adventure game book type thing, I love that. But I love the old monsters from the classic series. One thing I've noticed about the old series versus any of the newer series after that, including Give Yourself Goosebumps, the monsters are 1,000 times better in the original book, and the original series, classic series from the 90s. Love that series. It has the most creative stories with that, but the most fun I've ever had is with Give Yourself Goosebumps. So I would say I prefer the classics when it comes to the monsters, Give Yourself when it comes to just adventure, just in general, having a good time. Very rarely do I not enjoy a Give Yourself Goosebumps book. Very, very rarely. Some of my favorite books of Goosebumps are from that series, so I don't know, but classic series, a lot of complete home run books. I love that book series. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Goosebumps Boy. If you ask any more questions, I'll get to you in a little while. Purple Toxic. I don't think I've seen this person comment before. Might be a new fella. Anyway, whether you're a boy or a girl, thank you. I have 4 questions. Oh, wow. If you could Ask R.L. Stine something, what would it be? R.L. Stine, if you haven't watched this video, I am the fellow who many years ago, probably like many people, got on Twitter, saw that you had an account, and I sent you a message saying that, and this was at the time when I was a big Stephen King fan, not so much now, but I used to be, in high school and whatnot. And I sent R.L. Stine a message. I'm talking to you, Stine, so why am I talking about you in another perspective? Anyway, Mr. Stine, I sent you a message saying that, thanking you for all that you wrote, you know, with Slappy books and everything else from the old series, that I was a 90s kid, I grew up on you, that you were the Stephen King for me as a kid. And then I saw the 2015 Goosebumps movie, and I saw that they included The Shining and the Stephen King references, and I laughed on a whole new level that a lot of people didn't get, and a lot of people don't enjoy the film as much as I do because of that weird personal connection that may or may not have been inspired by me. So, I want to take credit for that, whether it's true or not. So, I love R.L. Stine so much. I would love to witness to him the gospel of Christ at some point. I think that'd be really cool. I don't think he's a Christian, but if he was, it'd be even better getting to know him in heaven. Getting to hear some of that guy's stories, how we came up with some stories that he wrote. But anyway, Mr. Stine, if you're watching this, I love you. Thank you so much for all that you do. God loves you as well. And that's really all I have to say. I think I inspired the Shining stuff and the Stephen King stuff from the Goosebumps movie. That's all I wanted to let you know. Anyway, moving on to the next question. What is your favorite Goosebumps cover ever? Man, you know, I was just thinking about doing a video on this. I'm going to go ahead and tell you now what I think off the top of my head is my personal favorite. It is possibly a tie between Not a Living Dummy, the original Tim Jacobus one, with Slappy and the creepy red cover and the yellow writing and all that. I love it. I think that Slappy's glowing green eyes and stuff is just amazing on that photo. It used to scare me to death when I was a kid. I think most people that were fans of Goosebumps in the 90s can witness and testify to how scary that cover was when we were all children. Love that cover. So good. I also love Haunted Mask 2's cover, which I knew when I was a kid because I had the DVD. I mean, I still do, of Haunted Mask 2. But I had never read the book when I was growing up. I only read that like last year at Halloween time when I was an adult. And it was amazing. And it just made the book's cover even better, you know? So, I don't know, it's kind of a tie of those two for me. And then there's other ones that follow up, like Curse of Camp Cold Lake, which is a scary, scary cover. It used to terrify me. It was one of my first Goosebumps books I ever owned, I think. Somewhere in that ballpark. My grandmother on my dad's side gave that book to me. The one I showed in my review, as a matter of fact. I'm a little surprised that that book has not had a reissue, by the way. I also love the Ghost Camp cover. It's not amazingly scary, but it's cool. I like it. There's a lot of covers out there I really love from Goosebumps. And like I said, I'll probably do like a top 10 covers of all time from Goosebumps. There's a lot of the Slappy World covers that I love. I love the one for Dummy Meets the Mummy. I think that's a great one. I love the Slappy's Evil Twin one, even though it's kind of a little bit on the comedy side. It's kind of like that goofy sitcom looking thing. But anyway, moving along, it's probably Haunted Mask 2 or Not a Living Dummy. I don't know. What is your favorite movie? Oh, man. I've got two. My friend Ryan, who comments on a lot of my videos, you guys probably see a lot of his comments on my videos. Ryan and I are huge fans of Donnie Darko. I love Donnie Darko. But the thing for me, the thing with me and my obsession for my two favorite movies of all time, that are really my number one, but it has to be divided between the two. There's a weird opposition between the two. My favorite is also It's a Wonderful Life, the Jimmy Stewart film from back in the day. It's a black and white film. You can also get it colorized if you want to see it that way. That was the first black and white movie that I saw that hit me on a level that I've never felt before. Now, I had seen Citizen Kane before that. I wasn't impressed with that. I love that movie now, but I used to not like it when I was in film studies in high school. The Universal Monsters films, I think I had seen Dracula up to that point, but it really hadn't clicked for me that I would eventually become an enormous fan of black and white films. But It's a Wonderful Life, my film studies teacher, Mr. Rittenhouse, showed that to me, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with how it was filmed and everything. It was just an amazing experience. I got to experience this as a high school student, you know? And getting to see it, and not as a child growing up with this as a background thing to Christmas, you know, as much as it is a Christmas movie for the most part. But It's a Wonderful Life is so much about the love for life and how much life means. And as a pro-life person, that's a big deal for me. So that movie really hits me in a really personal way. But on the other hand, Donnie Darko is like the most depressing, sad, beautiful movie from the 90s ever made. And it's amazing. It actually takes place in Virginia, where I live. Not in the same area, but it takes place in Virginia, where I live. And Donnie Darko has Jake Gyllenhaal in it. He's like my favorite actor, aside from Jimmy Stewart, which is also my favorite actor from It's a Wonderful Life. And Jake Gyllenhaal, he just kills it. And his sister Maggie Gyllenhaal's in it. She kills it too. Frank the Bunny is absolutely amazing. I have so many quotes from both films, It's a Wonderful Life and Donnie Darko, that are like burned into my head that I adore. And both films have amazing casts, some amazing pacing for the films. I just adore them both. I could not possibly recommend both to you enough. Donnie Darko, however, if you have a lot of depression issues, like myself, don't watch Donnie Darko, because it's going to get to you in a really rough way. And Donnie Darko is not so much a focus on life as it is death and what happens to us after we die. It's not a Christian film, as much as I'm a Christian. It's not a Christian movie, but it ponders those things, and it's so smart about that. It's a Wonderful Life ponders what's the point of life, you know? I love both of those movies so desperately, and I cannot tell you enough how much I love them to death and how many times I've seen both since high school. I saw Donnie Darko a little bit after high school, but I've seen both probably the same amount of times, probably over 10 or 15 times by now. It's been about 7 years since I graduated. It's been a long time. My voice cracked, so I had to cough my throat. I had to cough my throat. Donnie Darko, It's a Wonderful Life. Check them out. If you haven't seen them, amazing films. It's a Wonderful Life will make you cry. I don't care who you are. Donnie Darko will also make you cry. But It's a Wonderful Life makes everyone cry. It's a beautiful, beautiful film. Let's see. If you directed the third Goosebumps movie, what would the movie be about? Okay. So I've said this a lot of the time. It kind of depends on what you want from that, as what you're asking me as a person asking me a question. So are you talking about if Goosebumps 3, like a sequel directly to the first two movies, was made, what would I do? I would want to do the typical Horrorland inside of the book thing after Jack Black's character R.L. Stine got sucked into the book at the end of Haunted Halloween. I would want to go that way. A big kind of, almost like if you've seen Wreck-It Ralph, which I think a lot of you probably have, if you've seen Wreck-It Ralph and have like this beautiful area, even though it's a video game world, but that kind of type of thing, that CGI world, kind of like in the James Franco Oz movie that he did with Sam Raimi probably about 10 years ago, I'd say. I'd want to do something like that, but with Horrorland, and have Jack Black, R.L. Stine, whatever, kind of stuck in Horrorland, and I would love to bring back the original cast and get them involved to go and save Jack Black, and maybe have a couple of the kids like Sonny from the second film to go in and save him too. It might help people appreciate and love the second film a little bit more. However, if you really want to ask me what I would do as a Goosebumps 3 to try to save the franchise a little bit, without tying directly into the first two films, even though they kind of don't tie in directly to each other, I would probably, if I had my way, do exactly what I've said 1,000 times on the channel. I would do a straight-up stop-motion film. I would do stop-motion animation, just very much like Nightmare Before Christmas type stuff, the Tim Burton type things from the 90s. I would love to do something like that, or Frankenweenie. Not a Monster House type thing. That's not stop-motion. That's just direct CGI animation, which is fine. I like Monster House for the most part. But I love that there's something about the way those movies look, like Corpse Bride and Frankenweenie and things like that. There's something about those movies and how they look that adds this atmosphere to them. And there's the score and everything that works so well. I would want that to be what helps Goosebumps to become a better franchise, as a film franchise. I'm curious about how well Goosebumps will survive as a TV show. I don't know if it will be, but I'm excited for it. Regardless, I'm really excited for it. And I don't know. That's the direction I would go in if I had to make my own Goosebumps 3 that I would want to do, divided from everything else. If we could not get the rest of the cast to come back from the first two films, I'd go the stop-motion animation route. I think it'd be the best way to go. That, to me, would be really the best idea, because you could keep it scary. It wouldn't be like a cartoonish animation type thing that could be not scary and trying its hardest to be. It wouldn't be like that. It would work very well, and I'd love to see if Tim Burton could do it. I would love that. I think it'd be amazing. But anyway, that's what I would do. So thank you, Purple Toxic, excuse me, for your questions. I'm trying to get my cord for my phone being plugged, and I wanted to make sure I had it plugged in because I know I ramble so much. I'm going to need it. I'm trying to get my bottles of water out of the way so I don't throw them on myself or spill them. Spongy444. What is your favorite Goosebumps cover? Well, we already pretty much answered that, but thank you, Spongy. I think you asked other questions. I'm pretty sure. Lou always jokes back and forth with Spongy, and Lou cracks me up. Lou was always saying stuff. Spongy's funny, too. Lou said to that guy, why are you asking basic questions? Go for something like, do midgets have night vision? Lou, oh my god. Stop. Just stop, Lou. Or is it possible to defecate an ice cube after swallowing it? Ladies and gentlemen, my friend Lou. Always a surprise, every time. Not even going to respond. Lou says, Spongy commented back to Lou and said no. That's funny. Anyway, Crystal Poirier? I don't know how to say your name. I'm sorry, Crystal. Forgive me. I love your name. I love the fact that Crystal is spelled with a K. That's a really cool name. I would like to have a daughter named Crystal. If I ever had a kid, if God allowed me to, I'd like to name them Crystal. I don't know, something pretty about that name with a K. I don't know. I want to know how many of the original Goosebumps books do you still need to read. I think the last time I checked, there was 33 on my playlist, which is an odd number, but there was 33 on there, and if there's 62 of the original Goosebumps books, then that's what? Right at 29? Somewhere in there? But I'm terrible at math, forgive me. Trying to subtract in my head. I can add in my head, but subtracting is a bummer. Let's see, 33. There was 62. Roughly 29. Somewhere in there. I don't care. It's somewhere in there. 29 or so. Not much. I'm a little over halfway now, so that's pretty cool. I'm excited for that, because there's a lot of these left over that I do want to read, but there's a lot that I don't. Like Piano Lessons Can Be Murder, which I've heard is good, but you know how my tastes go. I'm very picky when it comes to Goosebumps books, but I'm not as bad as some people here on YouTube. Give me that. I'm not as picky as some people here on YouTube when it comes to Goosebumps opinions as an adult. There's a lot of reviewers that seem like they don't like this at all. Not my videos, but Goosebumps, just in general. Like, I don't get it. Why would you even make a channel based around that if you don't like it? You know, I don't know. I don't get it. So yeah, about 29 or so. Congrats on the subscribers. I have been watching for a short amount of time and watching it grow myself. I have an idea with Goosebumps and geocaching. I actually feel like I've heard of that at some point that I don't want to spill the beans on yet. That's pretty cool. I hope Crystal's channel, well, Crystal, I hope your channel takes off if you decide to make a channel about Goosebumps or anything, that geocaching stuff you're talking about. But yeah, thank you for the congrats on the channel. The channel's growing so fast. What happened? It just like, it's been around for a little over a year now. About a year and close to 6 months, somewhere in that ballpark. Again, my math is terrible. It's probably closer to 4 months, but still, it's been around for a while. Not a super long while. But it's growing like quick. Like, we were there for a while. When quarantine first started, we were getting like 20 subscribers a week. I think the other day I looked and there was like 28 from like the past month. That was crazy. I haven't seen those kind of numbers ever on my channel, so that's really cool. I'm really thankful for that. I hope a lot of people from the bigger Goosebumps channels out there are coming here and at least seeing somebody upload, whether it's good content or not, at least somebody's uploading, you know? So I'll take it. I'll take it because I enjoy producing it. I have fun talking to you guys. Okay. Thank you, Crystal, for your question. Isaac Garcia, do you like books about urban legends and folklore? You know, I don't really think I've read many. I love scary stories to tell in the dark, of course, which are kind of like adaptations of folklore and mythology and stuff like that. Local mythology, if you want to call it that. But I love that kind of thing. I love urban legends. You should see some of my interest in like horror movies. Have you ever seen the fear footage movies? If you like really scary found footage movies, there's 2 films. The sequel just came out this year. It's called The Fear Footage, and the second film is called The Fear Footage 2, The Curse of the Tapes. As bad as the title of the 2 films are, They were amazing. I love them. They have such a good urban legend feel, and I freaking adored them. I thought they were so good. I love urban legend stuff. I love folklore stuff, so I try to find kind of things that are out there kind of like that for the channel to do things like Goosebumps videos on. Even though I'm not making a whole lot of those right now. I'm going to have a few coming out this weekend, but I'm not making a ton of those right now just because I've been on such a Goosebumps thing here lately. And kind of also on a Universal Monsters thing. I've been watching a lot of Mummy movies here lately, prepping myself for this awesome summertime stuff that's coming up for the marathon I'm doing for Goosebumps Mummy books. But yeah, I love stuff like that. Then Here Comes the Shaggy, a Most Wanted book, will be a great read for you. Well, that's cool. I'm excited for that. I haven't read that. I haven't heard much about that book, so I don't really know if many people like that or not. Really gives new meaning to the term swamp monster. Oh, I like swamp monsters. I love You Can't Scare Me from the old classic series. If you haven't seen that review, Isaac, then I'm a big fan of stuff like that. So I hope that Here Comes the Shaggy is good. It kind of had one of those titles I was a little hesitant about, and I was like, am I going to like that? But I think I will. Anyway, thank you, Isaac, for your question and recommendation. Beyond Land, which is your favorite Goosebumps book? Man, that's a hard one. So, after I finish reading all the Goosebumps books, everything, at some point in the future, God willing, God allowing it, once I do, I plan on making like a entire big video about my favorite books of all time from the series. My current favorite is kind of hard to decide. There's a lot of books I love. I don't want to spoil it too much, but there's a lot to kind of reference between that I adore so desperately. Two of the big ones that I just could not read enough of, that I just love to death, are Ghost Camp from the old classic series and Goosebumps Wanted, The Haunted Mask, which is the fourth book of that series. I love those two books so much. I think they are amazing. I bought every single version of both books, Ghost Camp and Haunted Mask, well, Wanted, The Haunted Mask. If you haven't read either of those, I could not possibly recommend them enough to you. Whether you're looking for scary stories or just kind of fun stories, they had so much going for them. They are fantastic capturings of their times and the seasons that they take place in. For example, Ghost Camp takes place at summertime, and it feels just like a camp story, and it works amazingly well as like an urban legend type thing. Wanted, The Haunted Mask is amazing as a fall Halloween story, you know, and Scream of the Haunted Mask was kind of a letdown. You know, I read this book before I read Scream of the Haunted Mask, but Goosebumps Wanted, The Haunted Mask is just such a perfect encapsulation, kind of like Headless Halloween from the old Series 2000 series of Halloween. It feels like it so much, like from when I was a kid in the 90s. I love it so much. R.L. Stine can do such a great job with capturing the seasons and the holidays and stuff when he puts them in the books. I love it. I absolutely love it. So, anyway, yeah, I'd recommend those two highly. They're probably, if I had to argue, they're probably top tier for me, like probably the top two books of all time for me, but I don't know which one's above the other. I've never read Ghost Camp in my entire life, whereas I read Haunted Mask in a very vulnerable time in my life when I had my back injury, so I was like kind of in a situation where that was my big comeback to Goosebumps, because I read that book and I fell in love with it. It brought all that nostalgia back for Goosebumps, and I wanted to watch everything from it, read all of that stuff again. So Goosebumps Wanted, The Haunted Mask may possibly be my personal favorite right now. I don't know. Something could top it in the future. I doubt it, but it could, I guess. But for right now, it's probably Goosebumps Wanted, The Haunted Mask. I adore that book so much. Anyway, Beyond, thank you for that question. Yusuf says, do you think the new Goosebumps series should take place in the 90s or modern day? That's an interesting question. I saw this the other day when I was looking through the comments to see who had kind of asked what right now. Just a general gist of things. I wanted to make sure people weren't all asking the same thing over and over again. And they didn't. You know, thank you guys for that. Apparently, a lot of people are aiming for this to be more modern day, whereas I think it'd be a good idea to do it in the 90s, because you wouldn't have to explain the cell phone thing away. A lot of kids would probably be asking that, because it'd be hard to kind of explain, well, why don't they just use their cell phone to young middle schoolers and elementary schoolers, mainly elementary schoolers, unless you just threw a big old date on the screen at one point. But then again, a lot of kids nowadays don't understand either that we didn't have cell phones when we were kids. I mean, we kind of did, but not really in the 90s. So it wasn't super common in late 90s. So it's kind of a thing that's kind of hard to get around. If you do modern day, there's going to be a lot of challenges with that too. I don't know how I feel about it either way. I like the idea of doing it in the 90s. I would love to see all the goofy tie-dye shirts and stuff like I wear, and kids playing really bland rock music, you know, with some weird long bowl cuts like Sean from Boy Meets World. He doesn't have a bowl cut, but it's kind of like the essence of a cooler bowl cut, however you say it. Anyway, I would like to see the 90s thing if I had my pick, but it probably wouldn't work out. You know how audiences are nowadays. Audiences are not smart by any means. Like, you have to answer so many nonsensical questions to get somebody to understand something from an Avengers movie nowadays that be a little risky with Goosebumps. Is something that it's not as popular as the MCU or something, you know? People aren't going to really go out of their way to find out the information about it or pay attention enough, so I don't know. Maybe it is better to do it in modern day. I don't know, but I'd prefer the 90s, personally, Yusuf. Somebody responded. Lou responded to him. Yeah, Lou responded to him talking about some stuff. But anyway, thank you, Yusuf, for your question. I appreciate that. All right, my friend Alvin, my boy Alvin, another patriot out there. God bless you, Alvin. Congratulations, Michael. You should be proud of yourself. I'm not proud of myself. I'm terrible. But thank you, Alvin. I really appreciate the congratulations. I appreciate everybody watching the video. This is a long, long video. I'm sure it will be. But I don't even know how long we are in. It's probably already 20 minutes in. I don't know. It's probably longer than that, knowing me. Thank you for establishing the small yet growing community of Goosebumps fans. My only question is whether you will consider making new additions to your channel. Someone in the comments here mentioned a podcast, which I think is an awesome idea. I also suggest starting a Patreon for a members group, or a members group. Since it takes time for you to make these videos, you deserve to profit from them. You can also start a Discord and other stuff. But again, it's up to you. I remember asking you this before, so sorry, but it's completely up to you. God bless you. Let's all celebrate Michael attaining 500 plus subs by eating monster blood for dinner. LMAO. You know, I've had a few people, whether it be in this comment section or in other videos, asking me about the podcast thing. For me, number one, I don't like podcasts all that much. I gotta be honest with you. There's very few podcasts I love. There was one that I really adored that's off now. People stopped doing it, that we're doing it. It was called, if I think about it, I'll bring it up later. It was one that I really loved. It was like a skeleton review, or like, I don't know, it's like a bunch of people, in the picture on YouTube for their videos was a bunch of Skeleton Crew, that's what it was. It was Skeleton Crew. They had two or three different channels about their channels, and they used to just do regular podcasts. They talked about a bunch of stuff, but then they started doing full-fledged like reviews for like an hour and a half of different things, like all the Nightmare on Elm Street films, all the Halloween movies, all the Friday the 13th stuff, and sometimes they did full-fledged, long, hour-long videos, sometimes they didn't. And I loved their podcast. Other than that, I don't like any podcasts. I think most of the podcasts out there are garbage and just complete... It's one of those things that's become a trend. Like, I was listening to the radio today on a Christian radio station that I actually picked up on my radio at work for once, because I never get that. But I got one, and I was listening to it, and they were like talking about this podcast they started. There's a girl locally that does pop music on her radio station, on a different station, and she was talking about hers. I'm like, this is like the most uninteresting person on the planet. Why would you want them to do a podcast? You know, it's become a money grab thing, and most people, and me included in this, are not talented enough to do a podcast. I don't think so at all. I don't think I have the talent for something like that, personally. It takes a very smart, fun, witty person to be able to do that. I don't think that's me. My videos, of course, are unedited. I say a whole lot. That's going to bother people for podcasts. But it could be fun. I used to do videos on another channel a long time ago. I deleted all the videos a long time ago. It was a few years back, like during high school and out of high school, that I would do just like a picture on the screen, kind of like my earlier videos at first on this channel, where I'd do just like a picture on the screen. I'd use my Blue Yeti microphone and I'd record my voice. And it was kind of like a podcast review type thing, kind of like a little radio show, which I liked. I don't like being on camera all that much, but I do a lot of videos here on camera, just because a lot of people have gotten kind of familiar with that. Having a face to put with the voice helps a lot with people trying to find your channel. So, I don't know. I like the podcast idea. I really do. I don't think I'd be good for it. You know, like, I want there to be a real good Goosebumps podcast. And a lot of people keep saying all these other ones are really great. Again, I'm not a podcast guy, so the more that I listen to some of these so-called podcasts, I guess you couldn't say so-called, they're podcasts regardless, but my whole point is that when I listen to those things, I don't find them super intriguing. One of the ones I can't believe is really popular, which if it is, it's all up to you, it's fine, I don't care, but I'm just saying, is the Stine and Snacks? Stine with Snacks? Snacking with Stine? Something like that. Where these girls basically just recount events from a book they just read, from an R.L. Stine book, Goosebumps or otherwise, and talk about snacks. I understand they want to do something different. I get that. And it's nice. People do like it. I see a lot of people advertising for them on Goosebumps Facebook pages and stuff. But I can't see myself doing something like that. I don't think I'm any good at it. You know what I mean? If I have a video idea, I just make a video about it. I bomb you guys with like 6 videos at a time, you know, I do that. So for me, I don't think I'd be any good at a podcast, I think. I hate to let people down that want that, but I don't think I'd be any good at it. I know there's some people who have, there's one guy somewhere in these comments that has asked me to do it with him, like join up for a collab type thing for a podcast. Again, the way my wacky schedule is, and I'm about to get married in September and everything, it's going to be hard, man. It's going to be really difficult for something like that. I would love to do it. Don't get me wrong. I said I'd be bad at it, and I would, but I'd love to do it. I really would. I don't care if I'm bad at it. It would be fun, generally, but I don't think I'm talented enough to make that good. You know, I think people would be really disappointed with that. Plus, again, I get dry mouth, and my lips and stuff smack when I get dry mouth. So you don't want to hear that in a microphone all the time, and I'm not going to edit it out. So, yeah, I don't know if people would want that, personally. But let's see, what was the other... Yeah, you talked about the Discord and the Patreon and all that as well, Alvin. For me, again, I understand, and I appreciate also the idea that I supposedly work hard on my videos. I don't know if he exactly said that, but he implied that. I'm going to take it. I don't work hard on my videos. I just read books and watch TV shows and movies and talk about them. That's all I do. And I love it to death, don't get me wrong. There's no kind of hard work to it, in my opinion. I just fanboy out. I consider myself, when it comes to the Goosebumps community, I consider myself the Kevin Smith of the Goosebumps community. I grew up on this, I love it to death, got back into it as an adult. Kevin Smith did the same thing with his comic book stuff. With comic book collection, he sold that to make Clerks, became a big deal. He bought all of his pretty much all of his comic book collection back, owns it all now. Big famous guy, not really super popular anymore, aside from comic book fans like myself that have loved him for a long time, but still, I consider myself the Kevin Smith of Goosebumps community stuff. So I don't think I could go the route of trying to make money off of this, personally. That's why I don't have advertisements on my videos. I mean, I couldn't do it anyway because I don't have a big enough audience, but regardless, I wouldn't want to do it because I hate ads, number one, on YouTube. And I hate the responsibility of having videos taken down because of stupid AdSense nonsense. Ah, that was good. That was a good little quote to put right there. One of Ryan's quotes on Facebook. I can't stand the AdSense thing with Google. I cannot stand that. I hate it. I hate how it works. I hate how YouTube is run nowadays. It's an absolute slap in the face. The new update where they've gotten rid of like all the original YouTube stuff, where it's like the classic edition of YouTube is gone. Like it's this new thing, and I hate it. I can't get into the comments to work most of the time. I have to like delete little category things to get all of the comments I want to respond to and see who responded to me and whatnot. I hate using YouTube's dashboard now. I hate it. So, there's things like that that just make this whole thing more complicated. I'd rather just get on here, upload videos, and comment back and forth with you guys rather than having to fight over making money with Patreon or Discord or anything like that on the side. Just another thing in my life I'd have to monitor. And on top of that, I don't think you guys should have to pay for content. And not that it would be anything big, but it's like, I think people post like between $2 and $10. I don't know, but I don't want to do that. I don't think it's good. I think a lot of people get that. A lot of people on YouTube get an ego simply because of Patreon and Discord. It's not Discord and Patreon's fault. It's because of people and how sinners are, you know? People get excited that people are donating money to them, they get an ego, then when that money's gone, they get upset, and they get mad, and they get yelling at their audience and stuff, and I don't like that. I think it's wrong. So I don't want to turn into a monster, is what I'm trying to say. You know that quote from Dark Knight? What was how did it go entirely? I want to quote it right before I bumble it out in my head. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain. I don't want to be a mundane Matt. I don't want to be any of the guys that are being blasted on like Drama Alert here on YouTube, which they would never cover Goosebumps nonsense, but still, I don't want to be a guy who turns into a monster money hound. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that to you guys, because I just like to be a fun, enjoyable guy to talk about some silly stuff I loved from when I was a kid. Probably shouldn't love as much as an adult, but I do. So I don't want to delve too much into trying to Patreon and stuff like that. I just don't. But anyway, Alvin, thank you for your questions. I think you asked more in the comments. I could be wrong, but I think you did. So anyway, thank you for your questions. God bless you, dude. Love you to death. Seth Robertson, what do you think of the Goosebumps masks from Trick or Treat Studios? I actually looked into that after I saw this comment the other day, and I love them. I think they look fantastic. I know that the Haunted Mask, the regular Haunted Mask, not the Haunted Mask 2 one, I noticed that the first Haunted Mask book cover thing is kind of adapted into that first mask, but it also looks more like the TV show mask that I love to death too, from the first ever episode of the Goosebumps TV show. It looks great. I love that. I love the Jack-o'-lanterns mask that they have out there. I love the Slappy mask I think they made at some point. There's a lot of really good stuff from Trick or Treat Studios. I really, really dig their stuff. I know that they're not making a whole lot of content anymore for Goosebumps. I know they've kind of run out of the licensing, I believe, which kind of surprised me. I wish I had been around when that was being sold more often. I would have bought a lot of that stuff. But even so, where would I put it? You know, I have so much junk. So much junk. Not saying Goosebumps is junk, but a lot of my other crap that I have laying around that you guys have never seen before. I buy too much stuff. I'll be the first person to admit to that. I'm sorry. It's just how I am. I'm a flawed sinner like that, so it is what it is. But I can't afford putting some masks and stuff in here, so you won't see any person like myself buying masks at any point on this channel, because I can't afford it, number one. Well, I can't afford it, but I don't want it, because I don't have any room. It's not realistic. Especially when you're about to get married. You don't have any room for that kind of thing. Yeah, but I love those masks. Great looking. Seth Robertson also asked another question. Thoughts on the 2019 Are You Afraid of the Dark series? I meant to tell you, Seth. I meant to comment back to you. I'm sorry about not doing this. But I actually made a video of I think it was called Things Like Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark 2019, or Season 1, something like that. It was a review for that whole series, for that mini-series they did, that comeback. I personally really enjoyed it. It's not amazing, but it's good. It's really good. I liked it for what it was. It felt like the old series. It felt good. There was no social justice politics, for God's sake. Thank you so much. There was nothing like that. So it was really good in my opinion. I really dug it. There was some creepy, spooky, gory things in there. There were some really creepy moments. I dug it. I thought it looked really good. I thought the kid that played Sonny in Haunted Halloween, that was also in It Chapter 1 as Ben Hanscom, which was one of my favorite Stephen King characters of all time. I forget the kid's name, Jeremy something, I believe. He's fantastic. Really fantastic. He's really good in that episode, or that miniseries thing for Are You Afraid of the Dark? I really recommend it. I think a lot of people really missed out on Are You Afraid of the Dark 2019. I thought it was really good. I recommend it highly. I wish they put out a DVD release of this, because I would have bought it in a heartbeat. I thought I saw it at first, and now I don't think that there is one. I think you just have to buy it digitally if you want to see it. And I'm going to buy it digitally, because I loved it. I thought it was really good for what it was. Again, I loved it. When I say I loved it, it was probably more of an enjoyable, fun time, which is what it was. It wasn't like an amazing Shawshank Redemption experience type thing. So, yeah, I dug it. The other question that Seth asked was, thinking of doing a Goosebumps podcast, care to join? Oh, this was Seth that asked me that. Again, I would love to, but my schedule is absolutely hectic working second shift, and I have a lot of stuff going on in my life. We actually had a death in the family recently, and that was kind of nutty. I wasn't too involved with that, just because I just don't really get involved too much with that side of the family anymore. And, you know, it sucks, but it happened. And on top of that, I work second shift with the midnight release and stuff. So that's a little hectic right now. And plus, with the coronavirus stuff, and people are getting laid off left and right. There's rumors around that there's going to be another layoff at my job. And, you know, I'm really nervous about a lot of that stuff right now, honestly. So, you know, I don't think it'd be the right time for me to do that. If I was ever going to do a podcast, I don't know if now... right now would be the good time to do that. But I appreciate it, Seth, for you asking about that. I do really honestly appreciate that. There's a lot of YouTubers out there that do Goosebumps podcast. A couple of them, well, I would say there's probably like 3 or 4 big ones right now. You could probably reach out to like Zach Baby TV. He'd probably do it. I know he's part of another one right now, but he'd probably do it with you if you asked him to. It kind of depends on what your setup is, how you're going to do this, how you're going to record all these things. Podcasts seem like they're a big pain in the butt. I used to think they were just as easy as my YouTube videos I used to make, but no, multiple microphones and everything. That's some radio show nonsense. I don't know how to do all that. But anyway, thank you, Seth, for your questions, by the way, and thank you for the attempt to possibly work together a collab in some way, shape, or form. I appreciate you. Thank you. God bless you. Spooty Boy TTV, I'm really glad for you. Great job. Well, thank you. Mario 2025, you're welcome. Thank you, sir. Steven Chavez. I see a lot of Steven's comments on my videos, too. Cool guy. My question is, have you ever heard of the canceled Goosebumps Gold series? I think somebody asked me this in a previous video a while back. Either in a comment or in the last/first Q&A I ever did for the anniversary of the channel, the 1-year anniversary. You can also find that in the Q&A tabs playlist thing here on my channel if you want to check that out. I have heard of it. I've seen Goosebumps Aussie fans, or 90s Portal, as he's called now, Bjorn is his real name. I've seen Bjorn's video about that, and I thought it was freaking fascinating. I still want to know if Slappy New Year is the same general overall concept for the official Horrorland book as the way it was for the old idea for the old Goosebumps Gold series. I also wonder if Scream of the Haunted Mask is that Haunted Mask book, The Haunted Mask Lives. I would love to get another Goosebumps Christmas book by the time, you know, R.L. Stine possibly passes away before me. I would love to see welcome to, or Happy Holidays from Ghost, what was it called? What was the first book called? Welcome to Dead House. Okay, I had to remember. I had a little bit of a brain fart because I'm tired and it's late. Welcome to Dead House. So this one was called Happy Holidays from Dead House, something like that. I really thought that was a cool idea for a book. I would have loved to have seen a ghost, like, haunted house book. I know there's one from the 12 Screams of Christmas, which I have not read. I don't know. I want more Goosebumps Christmas books. I know it's usually a Halloween type thing with this series of books with Stine's typical taste in Goosebumps books. He usually writes Halloween stuff. It's hard to write a lot of, like, Christmas type stories. You know, it just really is. It's hard to find horror stories that are good made out of Christmas time. So I get where he's coming from, not making a whole lot of those, but I'd love to see Happy Holidays from Dead House get released at some point. You know, it's a shame that Gold didn't get made, but I also think we would have missed out on Series 2000, which I love Series 2000. I think it's really, really good. Really dark, too. I'm glad that the documentary, the fan-made documentary here on YouTube called, it was Goosebumps something, Saga of Scares, I think is what it was. Yeah, Saga of Scares, I'm pretty sure was the title. That particular creator here on YouTube talked about in the video about how Series 2000 was so dark. It was a really dark turn down that path. I'm glad we got that instead of Goosebumps Gold, personally, because I love Series 2000. I think that Slappy's Nightmare, as bad as the ending is, I really love that book. I think it's one of the best Slappy books out there. We wouldn't have gotten that. We wouldn't have gotten the amazing Escape from Horrorland book, or Return to Horrorland is what it was called. There's a lot of good Series 2000 books out there that I have not read yet. The ones I have read, I really, really dug. I think I've read like 6 or 7 of those and reviewed all of them. So, good stuff. I'm sad that we did not get another Goosebumps series with Goosebumps Gold, but still. Anyway, Steven, thank you for your comments all the time, man. I appreciate you. God bless you. Devil Luke, here's one of the questions that I saw going through some of these comments from people, the questions from people, and I'm gonna try my best not to be offensive on this. I'm really gonna try. Devil Luke seems like a very nice fellow. He comments a lot of the time on videos of mine. Really appreciate you. He said, I have a question. What are your thoughts on waifus or anime girlfriend? He also asked another question, but we'll get to that in a moment. Waifus or anime girlfriends. If you have ever heard of Filthy Frank here on YouTube, which a lot of people have, that his video about weeaboos is probably my entire opinion on that. I think that you as a person were created by God, and you have so much value to God that you should not care about having a relationship with an inanimate object or a thing that's fictional, you know? You should want to, if you're a boy, I'm assuming you're a boy because your title, your channel name says Luke in it. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But regardless, if you're a boy, you're going to be looking for a girl. Girl, you're going to be looking for a boy. I think that you have no idea yet how wonderful it is to find somebody so perfect that God made for you. I myself, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to tell you something you didn't know about me. I never dated anybody in person until I met my fiancée Rachel. Because, I don't know, people here don't like me. It's the way it is. I've always been kind of bitter. Kind of a grumpy old man type. That's how I am. I think a lot of people think, too, that I'm rude. Because I have like one of those faces, like, you know, the RBC. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to tell you what RBC means. If you know, you know. But, or RBF. I'm an idiot. Sorry. Excuse me. It's late and I'm stupid. But RBF, I have one of those. And if you see me walking around in the streets, I look like I'm mad all the time. People used to always tell me this in high school. So I think it had something to do with it. But my sweet fiancée, Rachel, and she's going to someday be my wife, God willing, because we're trying to get married in September. We were going to be married in April. All that went to kaput because of our governor in Northam, or in Virginia, excuse me. My sweet fiancée, before I met her, before we went on our first date, I got to the point where I was like, I never want to be married. I never want to date anybody because it was a waste. It seemed like a waste to me because I never found anybody. I never found my own happy ending in my future coming up. And I just kind of felt like it was a waste, you know? And I know as a Christian that it's about patience, about waiting on who God brings in your life. And I don't know if you're a Christian or not, Luke, but I would tell you this, that God, if He wants you to have somebody in your life, He will bring that person in your life. He possibly made somebody out there for you. And I think you have to be patient. And I think succumbing to this idea of loving an inanimate object or a fictional character is almost like abandoning reality in some way, shape, or form. If you're young, then it's kind of not, because when you're young, you think you're a Power Ranger, you think you're a Jedi, you know, and a Sith, and all that kind of stuff. When you become an adult, it's kind of a different thing. You know, it becomes something that you're going to have different goals when you become older. And I would advise you to just be patient, seek out the Lord Jesus, and pray hard. Really, honestly, because my sweet fiance Rachel came out of nowhere. Came out of nowhere. My grandmother told me all the time to message that girl on Facebook, and I did not do it. She contacted me at one point. Not because of my grandmother or anything, but she contacted me. I got blessed with this amazing, wonderful woman that I've known for 5 years or so now. We went to high school together. We saw each other in the hospital. We saw each other in the hallways all the time in high school. Never spoke to each other, never once, because she was kind of the preppier girl. I was more of the kind of hung out with the druggies and stuff, but I never did drugs in my life, I promise you. But I hung out with those kind of kids. I wore like a leather jacket. I looked like a greaser, you know, from like like an S.E. Hinton book. And we were never anything alike. We still to this day are not that much alike with our interests in movies and books and all that. But I would not ever trade her for anybody else, because she's everything to me. She is the woman that I think God made for me, and I cannot wait to spend my life with her. And I hope that I never slip up like my dad or many, many other men out there do when they get married, and they get to the point where they don't appreciate their wife. And I hope that that'll never be the case with me. And I don't mean to make this whole reply about me. I want to make it as a way to give you hope, a way to encourage you to seek after what's good and natural, you know? God has a plan. Be patient, pray, seek after Christ. Can't go wrong. I wasn't doing those things when I found Rachel, or when God brought Rachel in my life for that matter. And I could not tell you how happy that woman has made me. As much as I love my family, that girl has my heart. She has, for a long time now. And I don't know, I can't tell you what it's like to